Squid Game's second season has come and gone, and while it sports some inventive new games and a great deal of anti-capitalist violence, fans do have some concerns. Today on ScreenRant, we take a look at the problem with Squid Game. Specifically, we're of course talking about Season 2 of the hit Netflix series. Season 1 was a smash success with very few issues outside of the immediate cultural reaction, which resulted in an actual Squid Game reality show and inspired the Beast games, seemingly ignoring the whole point of the series in the interest of marketability and fat stacks of cash. Season 2, meanwhile, has faced some criticism for its structure, characters, and finale. For those who need a quick refresher, Season 2 picks up where Season 1 left off, with Song Gi-hun deciding not to board the plane to the United States, instead focusing his attention on bringing down the mysterious organization behind the titular game, using his winnings as the capital to fund his operation. Joining him late in this endeavor is the police officer Hwang Jun-ho and an assortment of expendable helpers, including the loan shark to whom Gi-hun owed money back in Season 1. Unfortunately, Gi-hun's carefully laid plans quickly backfire, and he's placed back in the game without any of the help he had carefully set up for himself. There, he's joined by old friend Young Bae, as well as a whole host of new characters ready to play the game. As if losing his transmitter tooth wasn't enough, Gi-hun is also dismayed by new games, well, 2 of them anyway, and the consistently frustrating results of the new daily voting system. As if that wasn't enough, he also makes a new friend in the form of the undercover frontman, who inevitably leads Gi-hun to his downfall through a series of lies laced with truth. Laying it out like that, it seems like there's plenty of plot to go around for the season, but unfortunately that's one of the key flaws at the end of the day. Not a whole lot goes down in this season. That's possibly down to the nature of the season, in that it really isn't a full season of television. If anything, it ends where there would normally be a big midpoint in this case, Gi-hun finally reaching his goal of rebelling against the game's overseers, only for that wave of violence to produce an unintended outcome, the death of Young Bae, as well as the deaths of nearly everyone else in the rebel party, and Gi-hun remaining trapped in the game. It's a near perfect midpoint, but instead it's presented as a season finale. This in turn makes the whole thing feel disingenuous, as if the viewer has been sold a bill of goods and gotten something lesser in return. Adding to this frustration are the various unresolved plot lines that accompany it. Gi-hun's plot could theoretically have been an adequate season-long story, but it's in the midst of essentially zero forward momentum. We don't see anything come of Kang No-yeol's plot line, in which the North Korean defector turned game soldier purposefully kills players who were intended to stay alive for organ harvesting. Her plot effectively just stops around episode 5, presumably to be picked up in season 3, something we're looking forward to, for what it's worth. Other plot lines, like that of Thanos, are introduced too late and thereby end too abruptly to be satisfying. Sure, it is great to see him get a well-deserved fork to the neck, and the murder is carried out by the right character for the moment, but it feels misplaced in the grand scheme of the season. It's another plot beat that feels right for a mid-season cliffhanger, but not for a proper season finale. It draws attention to what seasons 2 and 3 really are. One season split into 2. Structurally, this creates a season that feels like it has no midpoint and therefore a weak structure. The simple solution to this issue is obvious. It should have been a single season rather than being split into 2. However, if there was really no other option than to have it split in 2, at very least the first half needed to be rewritten to feature more characterization in games. At the center, we would also need a proper midpoint, which the show attempts to have in the form of the frontman entering the games as player 001.
성기훈 씨가 죽을 확률은 2분의 1. 꽤 높은 확률이긴 합니다.
There's also the matter of the games themselves, of which we get very few, or a lot if you count the second game for each of its 5 mini-games, which seem to act as a way for the producers to say sorry to those expecting more new games. Mingle, meanwhile, is comparatively simple, and while it doesn't help much in character building, it does its job as a tense and entertaining way of cutting down the number of players. Technically, there are a few more games. Within the main games, we have the special game played the night of the Revolt, and the Revolt itself. Neither is expressly identified as a proper game to the players, but they are treated as such by the powers that be. Unfortunately, neither is particularly clever or engaging. which could be frustrating for viewers hoping to go out with a bit more of a bang for the season finale. However, these handful of issues are potentially one big moot point if the third season delivers on the promise of these previous two. There are also the recruiter's games. He forces a bunch of homeless people to choose between bread and a lottery ticket, and later plays 2 games of Russian roulette, the first a perverted version of rock, paper, scissors, and the latter resulting in his demise. While none of these are as iconic as, for example, the marbles game in season 1, or as massive as tug of war or glass stepping stones, they do add quite a bit of tension and uniqueness to the overall season. However, they still can feel like filler when most viewers are simply waiting for the actual games to begin, and when they do begin, viewers who have been patiently waiting for them can be disappointed by the lack of those aforementioned iconic moments.
MC 코인, 너 약 빨았어? 눈에 뵈는 게 없냐?
That all being said, there's a lot to love about the second season of Squid Game. For one thing, the addition of new game mechanics, specifically the option for players to vote on whether or not they'll be allowed to leave the island and in turn split the earnings between the lot of them. This results in a lot of great moral quandaries, as well as a sharp divide between 2 distinct teams, thereby rocketing up the tension at the heart of the games themselves. This also gives some of the players, such as Hyunju and Young-sik, a group in which to fit in and force the audience to better understand them and their struggles. Thanos, as previously mentioned, is a bit of a wasted opportunity, but for the screen time that he gets, he's a great antagonist for those within the game. He's appropriately psychopathic, and his use of mind games and drugs to achieve his end makes for a cult leader type villain that really works within the world of Squid Game. Some critics have been less kind about Thanos and feel he's irritating, but that seems to miss the point of his character. He's meant to be an irritating monster of a human being, one who uses charisma to gain followers. Even though plenty of others looking on can't imagine why anyone would choose to follow him. He's like a politician in that way. There's also something to be said about the pacing of the series. It's pretty quick. We think that once season 3 drops, most of our complaints will be swept under the rug, as both seasons together will make for an eminently bingeable show. There's certainly the possibility that this doesn't happen and the third season whiffs the follow through, but the plot lines in season 2 are legitimately interesting, just cut short of any real finality. The fact that season 2 runs so quickly and features so little of the actual games is a concern for sure, but seeing as the next season is set to pick up right where we left off, we'll essentially be getting one giant second season to finish off the series. That seems like a smart move in the long run, despite our concerns with the initial offering. But these are just our opinions. What are yours? What did you like or dislike about Squid Game 2? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching Screen Rant.